interested.
Hi, hey. So why don't you introduce yourself? Why don't you introduce yourself for these people?
Alright, so hello everyone, my name is Tondé. I am a professional root setter. What do? I live in France, and I travel to teach root setting and to root set, and yeah, that's about it.
Alright, so you talk about root setting, you're doing clinics and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing here? Like we're at altitude right now, Altitude Gym in Hull,
Okay.
and we're just hanging out. But what are you doing here, and what did you do last week especially? We're going to talk about both of those.
Okay, so I came to do 2 jobs specifically. Last week, CC, I guess the equivalent of the Canadian Federation, hired me to set a training camp for the top Canadian climbers who would be eligible to go to climb in Canmore. So the idea was for me to set boulders to help them prepare that event. And I guess as a root setter, specifically exploring different styles that maybe Canadian climbers haven't been exposed to very much. So that was the idea for that. So it was 3 days, and they had to climb a mock semi-finals every morning, and then they got to session on those boulders in the afternoon. So that was the deal.
So before we go on to what you're doing here, let's talk about that training camp. I'm really I was there, and I went through all of it. It was terrible. No, it was awesome. It was fun, man. But let's talk about that more.
Okay.
What was the best part of that training camp? What do you take away as like the best memory?
I think the best part was watching everybody's session in the afternoons. That was for me the best. Like just people. I mean, it's basically what I love about climbing. People feeding off each other's energy and learning from each other to get better at climbing, and like being able, like as a root setter, to set up situations for that to happen. That was definitely the best part.
That's cool, man. And that was actually one of my favorite parts, was the sessioning in the afternoon, and definitely the mock comps in the morning, where turning around and seeing problems that I didn't even know what to do on.
It's hard, but I mean that's what it's like when you're on a real comp. So it was important that you had those 2 experiences: the actual, like, how am I going to solve this? I have no idea where to start feeling, and then afterwards the working through it and understanding, oh, that actually isn't really that bad. And then, I mean, the more you experience it, then the more stuff you have to bust out when you're in an actual competition. So
absolutely, and that's the name of the game, right?
Exactly.
So because that climbing hole review, we're super honest, and sometimes it means we're a bit of jerks. What was the worst part? Tell me about the worst part of that.
Well, the worst part for me was knowing that that I was putting you through the ringer. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah?
Because what happened is, when I knew I had a list of the climbers who were going to be there, I did quite a lot of video research. I went online, to see like what the results were in previous comps.
Sneaky.
Well, it's part of my work.
Oh, absolutely.
I have to know what people are doing. So I was watching videos, seeing people climb, seeing like what styles they were comfortable in and which ones they were not in, so that I could prepare what I was intending to set. So pretty much before when I was in the plane flying over from France, I had on paper the basic concept of all the 24 boulders that I set.
Wow.
Pretty much.
Wow.
So I knew what I wanted to expose you to, like the different styles, the slab climbing, the very technical small holds. It was all in my head, but then because I was showing up to a gym and I didn't know what resources I would have in terms of volumes, in terms of, I knew I would have to adapt, but the concepts, the ideas were already there. And so it was hard because I chose those concepts specifically because I knew that they would be hard for you. So I guess that's the hard part, because there's a kind of cruelty to it. Like, I know you're gonna suck at this, I know it because you're just not accustomed to it. And so that is kind of like, because we have control as root setters over things like this, then when I set a real comp, I never do that to people. I want people to have a good time. So it was hard, because even like before, I was watching you warm up and I was like, yep, that's gonna be hard. I could see it coming.
Oh, man.
And that knowledge it's a gift and a curse. So that's the worst part.
This guy does his homework. Oh, man. Well, now I feel I have a weird disposition to you for some reason.
I'm sorry, but like you said, it's climbing hold reviews.
Oh man, you gotta be honest.
honest,
No,
so
it's honest.
that's how it is.
That's the way we do it. Okay, so you talked about the volumes and you talked about how you had some of the like the conceptions already there. Let's talk about a couple of the problems. Like, let's talk about like your 3 favorite problems of the whole training camp, because these problems were off the hook. They were amazing. They were exactly what you said. Nothing like what we climb here. So let's talk about your 3 favorites.
Okay, so I guess my maybe most favorite one of my most favorite one was the corner switch.
Oh, the corner switch.
So it started on the Teknik Dark Crystal, big, awkward, in a 45-degree wall, but the wall was in a dihedral, so you had to stand. There were no footholds, and then there was a very low-angle volume around the corner, and you had to lift yourself, which was, you know,
pretty stout as
it was, just to get into that stem, go around the corner, all smearing, and then match the smear, and then step your heel onto the volume, and then there was like a twist and compression move to twist into an awkward screw in, and I thought that move was really, really interesting because it was really fun to do. I really enjoyed setting that and climbing it. Like, I did it subsequently several times during the course because it was just such a fun move. But what was interesting is it was really, I mean, the guys and the girls could do well on it and did well on it. Like Harley managed to do the move, you managed to do the move, I think Stacy did the move.
I think Sethna did it as well.
Sethna did it as well. So a bunch of people managed to do it, and it was an understanding move, and the boulder itself, I think once you knew exactly how to do it, wasn't really that hard. But it looked so cryptic and so mysterious.
Oh,
and
yeah. Well, cryptic's definitely a word to describe it. I mean, there's nothing on this problem. It's just you turn around and there's like one hold, and oh, there's a hold up there and a finisher. Well,
yeah. But it was pleasant to do, which is not necessarily the case with those types of problems. They can be like, you know, like they feel like groveling and painful and awkward, and this one wasn't. It was like you had to execute a very precise move. You had to compress, use your full body, and so that was one of my favorites for sure.
That was definitely on my list of favorite problems as well.
And then I guess the corner one.
Like the screw-on jibs.
So it was just a series of little jibs that were very close around a perfectly vertical right angle wall, and you basically had to lay back this way, lay back that way, find balance, and then just, you know,
switching corners.
And
then let's talk about the top of that problem, because this is something that we had never seen. So the top of this problem, like, you describe it. Come on.
So it was very balancy and, you know, delicate problem that until the hold before last, I guess, you kind of had to switch into a thumb catch on the arete, and then there was a small crimp, and then to do the last move, my intention was I wanted a change of gear within the boulder problem.
Yeah.
So you had to basically just bring your heel up on nothing on the arete, crank really, really hard, and then cross into the final hold, which was an awkward, like, it was like a finger jug that was pretty good. If, like you said, it hadn't had another little jib that was, you know, jammed into it, which made it an awkward and uncomfortable grip with a really sharp lip, and it was really hard to crimp and then match.
Yeah.
So
really, really hard.
And so the reason I designed it that way, knowing it would be unpleasant. Again, I knew it was unpleasant to do because I wanted you to practice as competitors that level of determination that regardless how unpleasant or how awkward something feels, if you want to get the validation of the top, the 2 points, you have to put your mind into it 110%.
Well, that's absolutely what you taught, because there was fight beyond fight there. Oh man, but that was a really cool problem, and that's something we definitely wouldn't see here too. So let's talk about the last problem. Pick one, the other one that stands out in your head as like something that you really enjoyed, either watching, seeing us try, fail, or anything else. Like you said, you did a lot of setting. There was like 22 blocks that you set.
Yeah, 24.
And Max DeGal came in and set 2 others and foreran everything. And
exactly.
I know you said he was a big help to you.
He was a huge help, so thanks, Max.
Big throw out to Max DeGal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that other favorite. I want to know.
That other favorite.
The people want to know. They want to know.
So what could be my favorite, man? There was a lot of boulders there. It's a funny thing because I generally don't really like my own climbs, and I don't like climbing them. I like seeing them work and live their lives with other climbers, but when you know all the tricks and everything that's gone into it, it kind of like takes the magic out of it. So, but I guess that was it men's 2 on day 1, the one with the volume and the grip tape, the one that you had to get.
Oh, I think that was 3, but I know the one you were talking about.
Okay,
so let's talk about that one.
Okay,
let's talk about so describe it for us. Like
briefly, powerful start, very small, tiny jibs. Thanks to Teknik for sending me a whole bunch of screw-ins without which I wouldn't have been able to set all those problems because I needed a lot of really tiny holds. So you started on one of the in cuts, really small, and then small feet. Pretty much overall throughout the whole session, everything was tiny feet because I wanted to get that feeling of intensity and technical precision toned up as high as possible for the overall climbing. So really small feet, double undercling, and then I had a very big triangular volume that was completely slick. It was made of vinyl or plastic or
like plexiglass or something.
Plexiglass or something just
gnarly.
Like exactly. And I put patches of grip tape on specific places. There was one tiny screw on that served as a palm catch on the top of it.
I remember
with the grip
that.
tape. So you had to wrap it around kind of like a meat hook to get opposition on another small jib that was way on the other side. Then there was a heel hook, and then I had a grip tape on top, and then a tiny Teknik jib again as an intermediate to help you bump up to a couple of in-cut underclings, move your feet up, and then final hold.
He says move your feet up like it was no big deal. Now, like me, I think that problem only saw 2 settings, and it was me and Eric got it way fast, but when he kicked out and moved his foot, oh so nicely as you put it, it was this ninja kick of doom. I thought the volume was going to come off.
It was a big foot stomp because there was so much pressure on those holds, and unfortunately, it's something that you have to know as a competitor how to do to be able to be in awkward and uncomfortable positions and still find the right move to do and force yourself into doing the right moves, even if it's just a foot move that's awkward. So again, yeah, and I thought that was a good problem because it had the right level of intensity. I think it was pretty showy. You know, it would have been interesting to watch in a real comp, and it was kind of cryptic for the climbers because they had to work out how the grip tape worked. Those like compressions, weird stems, and cut looses that required. It was pretty involved climbing.
It was an involved problem for sure, sure.
Yeah, I guess that's definitely one of my favorites.
Cool. So you've done training camps before though, right? Like you do.
I have.
Yeah.
I set quite regularly for the French national team because I live in France and in Paris, fairly close to where their training center is. So the team managers make it a point to get different route setters to come and set circuits for them, just so that the team is constantly exposed to different styles and different, different people's visions of what competition boulders should be. And I think that's really important, especially for climbers who are climbing in international situations where they will be exposed to, different route setters, different teams, different. So I just thought it was a good thing to be, to share with athletes in other countries. I mean, I guess the French team are starting to know what kind of tricks I pull out more regularly. And I just think that information needs to be shared. I learn, as route setters, it's really good for us to be able to set for other climbers also, in different situations. It helps us get more information and more, I guess, knowledge on how to set better problems and how to make them work better for both the competitors and the spectators. So
absolutely, man. That's got to be a really cool experience. Anyways, working with the French national team.
I had a great time working in Canada. That's
man. Well, we love having you, man. You come back anytime. You set one of those cryptic boulder problems, and we'll be laughing. But so we've talked about the training camp. Let's go back. Let's revert back for a second because you said there's so you do this training camp thing, and you're a professional route setter, and you're here at altitude. What are you doing here at altitude right now?
So here at altitude, I am teaching a route setting course.
Okay.
It's a 4-day course, and it is geared specifically on competition route setting. So I just basically, I teach, I guess, one third how to manage a competition, like the general organization and logistics of it. One third the actual route setting, like how to turn the holds and make the holds look good. And one third magic, maybe, I don't know.
Magic, wizardry, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I mean, you have to leave room for all the stuff that people are inputting. Because it's not just me coming to spray what I have, it's also the opportunity to have 12 people who are together to route set as a team, and the energy that goes on between that team, you have to leave room for it, because that's where a lot of inspiration comes from.
Absolutely, and that never happens anyways, right? Like, there's never 12 people, like, unless it's in a clinic.
So yeah, that's what I'm doing here.
That's really cool, man. And like, you have a company that does this, right? Like, you are a company now.
Yes,
do you want to do some promotion for us? Tell us the website. Tell all those people that want route setting clinics. This is your opportunity.
Thank you very much. So it's a French company called L'Ouvre-Boîte, which is pretty funny because what it means is can opener. But it's
what?
That's what it means. If I translate it, it means can opener. But it's a play on words because route setting is ouvrir in French.
Okay.
And boîte means a company. So what it means is route setting company, but it's a play on words. So
that's awesome. That's cool.
We don't take ourselves too seriously. And so yeah, there's 5 of us who've been route setting. I've been route setting for about 10, 12 years, something like this. And we've been, the people I've met along my travels and, you know, working different jobs, we just had a similar vision of what we think route setting is, and just decided to do something about it and share it with people through the training courses, and then just provide professional route setting services to whoever may need them, be it competitions, gyms, you know, schools.
And that's really cool, man. That's like you're living the dream, man. Like that's.
Well, it's still a hard job because there's a lot of people who need convincing that it's a necessary job, but it's definitely very interesting. I get to travel, I get to meet a whole bunch of really cool people, and the experience is you know, it's invaluable.
Absolutely, the experience is always invaluable, whether it's good or bad, right? So
exactly.
All right, so you have this company, and you said you've been setting for like 10 to 12 years or whatever.
Yes.
What are we at? So what has setting become for you? What is it to you as a route setter, as a person, as Tondé? What is it to you?
So for me, it took me a long time to answer this question, and that's why I've only been a professional route setter for 3 years. Because before that, I route set a lot, but it wasn't my job. I couldn't commit to that because I didn't understand what I was doing with it. And so I finally figured it out, is that I really love climbing, and I love it's the experience, the people, the traveling, all this experience. And what route setting is to me is a way for people to have a good time. You know, people go to competitions because they love climbing. People go to crags or to gyms because they have a good time. So it's my way of helping people, you know, be happy in a way.
That's such a good description of it. That's really like empowering as a route setter. I find that. So like everybody knows that there's two different kind of schools of route setting. There's like competition route setting, and then there's commercial route setting. I mean, it kind of breaks itself up, right? But so let's talk about the different sets, and let's talk about what it is to you. So you set on the World Cup, right?
That's correct.
And you're slotted to set 2 World Cups this year. 3.
Yeah.
Which are the 3 again?
So I will be setting in Eindhoven. And then Barcelona, which are back-to-back, so it's going to be a pretty rough 2 weeks for me.
That's good. That's awesome. I hope you make those Barcelona problems really easy. Those are the ones that I'm going to, of course. So
that's awesome. And then I'm on the short list for Munich, which will be in August,
Okay.
and that's unconfirmed for right now, but I'm waiting on an answer and hope that comes true.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. So what is competition route setting for you? What is it like? We all have different views of it. I mean, like part of it is suffering, but like that's everybody knows that. And
Yes.
so like, what else is there to it?
I think climbing is such a complex sport. I think it is a really interesting challenge to find out who the best man is, especially like finding a way through that complexity. That's why, as a route setter, I like diversity. I like for a circuit to have, you know, one slab and then one dyno and then one weird corner problem and then
Yeah, I'm gonna stop you. He did say slab. Okay, like
I did
he
say slab.
actually
Yeah,
meant
yeah.
slab.
It's the origins of
There's
climbing.
something wrong.
If you look at a large majority of the the first routes that were ever put up, they're slab climbs.
Oh,
they're
man,
like
slab.
250
I
meter.
can tell you right now that there's not a lot of people out there that wake up every morning and go, I'm gonna go climb me some hard slab today.
No, but
That just doesn't even fit in my vocabulary.
but it's interesting climbing. I mean, I enjoy it. It's not always easy. It's not, but neither is any of the climbing. It's just we get more accustomed to one style if we do more of it. And I guess slab climbing has a kind of bad reputation. So
Bad reputation for hurting fingers and like.
but so does crack climbing. You know,
Okay, well,
crack climbing gets a lot.
and I still
you know.
think those people are crazy too, so it's all good.
So
You know,
there you go.
like there you go. Tell me about commercial route setting, because you also do that, right? And that's the nature of the beast for all of us. Like unless you're, I don't know, I can't name a single route setter who doesn't work in a gym and still sets comps. So
Well, it's interesting because that's fairly common in North America.
Yeah.
But in Europe, it's not so common. There's not so many gyms that have permanent route setters that that work full time at the gym on salary.
So you're saying that there's tons of route setters over in Europe right now that only work for comps and then just chill out for the rest of it.
Yeah, comps or their local clubs, but they work for free or
Moving to Europe.
and
Moving to
so.
Europe.
Well, I mean, it's for some reason, like I don't know if it's the economics of it, but the industry, the climbing industry in North America has learned how to integrate route setters into their their
Oh yeah,
workflow.
and absolutely. Like I'm a product of that. I work for True North Climbing. I love my job, John. I love my job.
And it's
okay?
great.
Yeah, and I still get to set the tour de blocks and everything like that, and it's cool. But I mean, what is commercial route setting to you? Because we all have a different view of it. Some people just view it as like packaging a product up a wall, right? And
For me, again, it's the people. So my favorite part of setting in the gym is helping people get better at climbing, and choosing the right foothold so that V0 is going to be not just a jug hole, something
but
that
it teaches you something.
it teaches you something. I think is the I mean, this is a Chris Danielson quote, but every move's a lesson.
Oh my gosh, you had to quote Chris, right?
Of course, I have to quote Chris.
That's awesome. See, we're
story.
throwing it out to Chris too. Everybody, let's just
Chris
give it.
Danielson.
Let's give the throw it away. It'll be
But
awesome.
But the theory, I mean, that is the theory, and that is what I like about setting in the gym. And
No, and that's awesome because I've taken clinics from Chris, and it's true. There is you can teach something to anybody through like whether it's a V0 climber or whether they're cranking down V14. You can still teach them something.
absolutely,
Right?
and it resides in the choice of holds, the choice of the wall you set the problem on,
Absolutely.
and what new situations you can put the climbers in to experience.
That
things.
is a perfect attitude.
So-
That's so. Do you see it like when we're talking about these two different aspects of route setting? Let's bring it to a wider scope. Do you see a difference in both of those aspects of route setting here in Canada? Since you spent some time here and you've been setting here a lot now, so like, is there a difference in setting in Canada compared to across the pond in Europe?
Well, I guess the design of the gyms defines a lot of the way the route setting is done. So in Europe, in general, a lot of the walls are plywood. So as route setters, it gives us a lot of flexibility in what we can put on the wall, how the holes sit on the wall, and stuff like this. A lot of the gyms I've seen here have textured walls, and it's a limitation. Also, the angles, I have yet to see a Canadian gym that has slab bouldering. I have yet to see it, you know? So...
Oh man, there used to be one actually, like just over in Ottawa. Coyote Rock Gym had this like perfect big black slab, and they tore it down, put it in a party room, and then put in another bouldering cave. Jody, big shout outs to Jody Miles, Jody Miles, one of the Canadian root setters, and manager of that gym. But okay, so wall designs. Anything else?
The diversity. For me, I think I like the flexibility of having, you know, very simple plain walls, and then all the basic angles from slab, like negative climbing, to the steep roofs, and I need it all. And then just have volumes that allow me to modify that wall and space the way I want it to. So, I mean, it's been said again and again, and you know, volume climbing. But if you use you don't have to. It doesn't have to be volume climbing the way, you know, certain setters see it, where it's just like grip tape and, you know, screw on. You can actually put holes on it, and the way you choose to use it is up to you, and there's an infinite number of variations, and that I think is the most interesting, one of the most interesting things. So I think in a way it's a limitation that Canadian or North American, because it's fairly predominant in North America. It's a limitation that they set themselves, maybe, in a way. In my view,
again, we're being honest. We're being honest. Like, so, get used to it. We just throw it down and say, like,
that's the way I see it. I mean, it's true that sometimes the walls look great, and you know, but to be able to give that diversity of movement is difficult in certain gyms. And I think, I think there needs to be a little bit of evolution.
All right. Well, like I you know what? That's what I'm here for. That's why you're teaching the courses is for, and the training camps is for diversity. Maybe you'll see a change. Maybe a little bit, but who knows? But let's talk about the main ingredient inside. Let's because it's climbing hole review. We review holds. We're unbiased about it. Let's talk about holds. Now we know you're repping Teknik, and you've got the Teknik shirt on. Like, big shout outs to Seth and Zoe, man. I know them. I love them. They're awesome. But and like, let's talk about what's your favorite hold company.
Well,
unbiased.
You know this firsthand. My favorite way to root set is with no holds.
With no holds. So you can't have a favorite hold company. I get that. I get that. That's all right.
It is a problem. However, no, there's a whole bunch of companies that I really do like. There are...
First go with the European ones. Let's get the Euro ones out of the way, alright?
Sure. I like... there's another company that I'm repping out of France called Freestone.
Okay.
Yeah, they make holes that I like. They've been making holes for a long time. It's a dude named Marc Davier, who's an international setter, and Eric Chanourdi, and I really like their shapes, you know.
Yeah, what are they, like, let's talk about their shapes. What are they pouring in? What are they doing?
They've been doing resin for a very long time. I don't know how long, because we've got, like, a lot of gyms have Freestone holds, and they have a bit of everything, you know. They have the sculpted, you know, complicated crimps and stuff that you have to fiddle around with, and then they have the smooth slopers and very, you know, pure lines, and it's a bit of a mix, but it's always worked for me, and I haven't, you know, it's an easy go-to hold.
It's a go-to hold company, yeah. So I fully understand that.
Exactly, so I like them. There's a very small company that produces very few holds out of France called Pierre F.
Okay.
And they used to sponsor the Serge Chevalier event when that still existed. And I love those holds. They're like works of art. They're really weird.
Look at you, you're getting all excited about the little holds.
I'm a root setter. I'm a hold
Absolutely.
geek.
No, we're all hold geeks. Alright.
So I really like them. They're kind of hard to find, even in France, because they produce so few. I think the company is like 3 people. So they can only make, you know, fairly small orders, but they're awesome. And then recently I've become quite a big fan of holds out of England.
Holds, out of
So,
England.
Stephen
See,
Goodyear.
Jeremy, look, man, he's got
Big
it
shout
down.
out to him. I set with a big twofer recently, and I was really impressed with that. And his screw-ins are spectacular.
Yeah, actually,
so.
I think there was a holds hold on the on men's number 3.
It's
was
very
it?
possible. I have a few.
The triangle problem with the
I have
flip.
a few in my personal collection of holds
Oh
that
yeah,
I
look at
never
you
leave
go!
home
Look
without.
at you
so.
go! See, Jeremy, he's got tons of it. All right. Let's move to realistic. So for North America, what about North American hold companies?
Well, I mean, I know I'm repping them and everything.
Okay,
but
all right. We're
even
gonna
though-
have like a Teknik
I'm
show.
sorry.
Right? Yeah,
I have to say it. They are my favorite.
No,
I mean,
okay, and that's fair. That's fair.
And,
like.
and I have to say that's how my collaboration with them started, because I just sent them an email like, your holds are awesome. When can we get them in Europe? And Zoe was like, well, why don't you do something about it?
Why don't you do something
Okay,
about
so-
it?
And that's how it came
That's
about.
right, Zoe.
Just
Make you work
because-
for it.
Just because I thought they were awesome.
Alright,
so-
well, I'm gonna put ask you a couple of questions about hold companies, because I'm a big fan of climate holds. I
Okay.
love climate holds and love project holds. You sat with them ever? You worked with them?
Very little. I know
Very
them.
little?
I know a little bit. I can recognize them. I know the bigger shapes.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean,
Because
like,
they tend to stand out.
project shapes are like this big, and
Exactly.
you can feed like small children, big children, like an entire family with like one project shape.
Probably.
Yeah, but I mean, like Tim, shout out, dude, you're doing good work, and same to you, Zach, both of you, killing it. But so you've worked with any other North American shapes, any other North American companies? You got anything?
I have.
Because I mean, Teknik is Canadian actually. Like we're
I know.
we're pulling it down, man.
Yes.
And we look after.
I've always had. I mean, I kind of like that old school pusher generation.
Oh yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
a big pusher fan.
Absolutely.
back in
Well,
the day,
that's
so
quintessential, man.
I'm
Like
glad,
they,
they're coming back.
they're
you
coming
know.
back. They're coming.
So-
They got their shit back together. And
Yeah,
it's
those shapes were classic, instant classics, and
like instant classic.
to this day they still work. They're still
yeah. I mean,
fantastic shapes. So
we can't put any on our walls, but like if I could find like old resin pusher, like the font series, man.
Spectacular.
Yeah, laying it down.
So I really like them. I think I really like e-grips, but to be quite honest, I don't know I like the ones that I've seen, but I haven't seen that many. The slopers, the Mallorcan slopers, I think they're pinches, that really beautiful holds, and they look really nice, but I haven't worked enough with them to to know. Another older company. I mean, I like the older shapes because I don't know the newer ones. Is Voodoo.
Voodoo. Wow.
More classics.
Absolutely more classics.
Always like the texture.
Yeah.
Texture was always one of my favorites. Their dual text was really
One, like
interesting.
they were putting down that they were the first company to do that wax back and like really clean dual text, right?
Yeah. The
And
split cobbles. I
The
think
split cobbles, yeah.
Those were great, and they had the
Talus
different-
series.
Exactly.
Awesome, so cool,
Yeah.
so cool. And they were the first company to really do like big,
Yeah. Borderline volume ones. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. What about so just because I'm gonna ask you, he's my boy. He's putting out some dope shapes. You worked with Friction at all out of Toronto?
Fantastic holds.
Yeah, man.
I love them.
Luigi's attention to detail, it's like there.
It's. I'm usually not a fan of the hold with all the texture and too much going on, but I sat with a bunch of them for the course last week.
Yeah.
The SpongeBob was a.
SpongeBob, and
High
I thought I
finish
saw
hold.
some of those new dual text crimps.
Oh
in
yeah.
there. Oh man.
Oh yeah. Those are evil.
Those are. They're
No
small
thumb
and
catch,
no thumb
really
catch.
tiny.
Just
pure,
pulling, just crimping.
dig it into the flesh, and
Man.
clench the teeth, and
It's like old school crimps, man. They're not afraid to be sharp and painful. That's a good place to be, man.
Love
Luigi,
them.
you're killing it, dude. Let's talk about. So we talked about your work, what you're doing with the training camps. And we talked about these courses and what you do for the French team and your professional route setter. You're doing it the commercial way and the competition way.
Yes,
But
sir.
you were working on something. You were mentioning something. We drove up here. I drove him up here actually, and 4 hours with this guy. But we're like you were dropping hints about something big that you were working on. I want you to maybe just like spill a little bit. You don't have to like go too big into detail.
So no detail because it's still a work in progress.
No, it's hush hush, man.
It's hush hush, but we're getting there. It's it should be like next couple of weeks, maybe month, but definitely before the next World Cup.
Okay.
The idea is to have, I called it the World Cup Bouldering Library, and so the concept is to have a video of every single boulder in the World Cup in 2011, all recorded on one website. That's the idea. So basically you'll be able to see every block of every round in order, climbed from top to bottom by one person, so long as the block has been done, because some problems don't get done, but at least the best attempt. And what I'm also trying to do, if I can figure out the logistics to it and to get the information, is that for each boulder problem, I'm trying to record like a minimum amount of information to be able to, I guess, identify it. So I'm going to record the wall angle it's on, so if it's a slab or a steep wall or a roof. I'm going to record the type of holds that are on it. And then I have a third criteria I need to define, and I'm having trouble. That's why it's still a work in progress. I'm thinking about it. For the moment it's just called style, but it's not working very well for me to define things, because style
is too broad.
It's too broad. It's
such a broad concept, man.
Exactly, but I'm trying to narrow it down so that we can have like cross sections and be able to analyze and compare things. I'll have number count of moves, basic information on the boulder, and then we'll see how much we can record and how interesting it is, because I'm not sure some of
that'll be so good. Like, that's so much data to have for us as route setters, and especially like you guys, like setting the World Cups. Like that's big, because then at least you can look back and go, oh, we've done this style of problem how many times now? Like,
that's the whole point of it, especially with competitions being a weekend after the other. It's really hard to get, sometimes, there was a World Cup last week and you don't know what was going on there, because the video hasn't been edited yet, the live feed wasn't on, or, and so you set stuff and it turns out the competitors climb the same stuff again and again, right? So to try and avoid that, I thought we needed a library, right? To be able to consult what's going on.
That's perfect. And big ups to you for stepping up. Is anybody helping you with that? That's got to be a huge job, man.
It's a huge job. So I'm being helped out, thankfully, by Udo Newman, who's
big shout outs to Udo, man.
The World Cup bouldering reports, those were awesome.
Those were awesome last year. Like, I can't remember how many times I came into work and brought a coffee and just like before I started setting and
watch around,
watch a round of World Cup just to get the juices flowing.
Exactly.
Oh man, it's perfect. Dude, you're making great videos. You keep doing it.
So yeah, there'll be information, on my Facebook group, L'Ouvre-Boîte, or my website, ouvreboite.eu. And yeah, I hope that comes through.
I hope that takes off, man. I hope that goes through for you. I hope you I can't wait to see it. I might be pressing, but like, is this gonna be open to the public?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
awesome.
Just a public website.
I know what I'm gonna be doing every morning. Just before our route set. Okay, this has been long, and you've been awesome. So I just want to ask you one last question, then we'll get you out of here. I'm sure you want to get some sleep, because like tomorrow,
day two, training course.
Day 2. Oh god. Well, it's day 4 for me. I'm done. Where do you see climbing in the next 5 years? Where do you see it? It's a big question.
It's a big question. I don't know. Everyone seems to think that it's a good idea that it gets bigger. It would be good for me, because if it was bigger, it'd be more work opportunities, more money, So, but at the same time, as a climber, I'm never sure that's exactly what I want.
I think sometimes I wonder about that too, because it's like the secret might be ruined for...
I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe, sharing it with more people will make it better, and more people will be,
bringing different experiences and different visions into it. Absolutely. But what happens if it, like, one of my favorite things is when I tell people what I do that aren't climbers, they just look at me like, Really?
Yeah.
And you do that for money? And someone pays you for that. John, man, don't take away my salary. I'm
Bolt plastic things to a wall.
I'm still happy, and the people are still happy. But seriously, like, it is a big question. I mean, like, where, like,
I don't know. What I hope is that I feel that climbing is a young sport. You know, wherein it's you know, it needs a lot of maturity. When I look at other sports, like professional sports, like any of them, you know, golf, soccer, you know, fencing, I have no idea what other sports. You look at the level of involvement that all the people who are involved in it have, it's really high, you know.
Yeah.
And I think climbers, if we wanted to evolve positively, all of us have to step up our game. The climbers, as competitors, have to become more professional.
Ah, you were talking about that at the training camp. We're not going to give away that secret.
The route setters need to, you know, have to start addressing specific problems and stop, you know, route setting for girls is hard. Yes, it is, but we're supposed to know how to do it. It's part of our job.
Absolutely.
So we can't have the excuse of not knowing, or we have to just invest the time into studying it and, you know, making it work. Everybody's got to step up the game if we want it to go somewhere positive. I think if everyone does that, I don't know where we'll be, but it'll be a better place. That's,
you guys hear all that? Tonde's telling you to step up.
You know,
he's making you. You got to prove him wrong. You got to bring it. So
prove me right.
Prove him right. All right.
That's
well,
awesome.
Dude, Climbing Hold Review wanted to just interview you. It's a great opportunity. I mean, we never get this kind of publicity. So I mean, it's awesome to have you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being honest, because that's what we do here.
Yeah, sure.
And man, it was sick. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. I'm having a great time, and thanks to Climbing Hold Review, I check out the site really regularly to see.
Really?
I do.
That's awesome.
Check out. I mean, it's part of my job again to
no holds. Know
what's going on.
Absolutely.
Is anything new happening? You know, I have to keep my eyes open. You can't just like get boxed in. So.
See, Jeremy, he's watching you.
I'm watching you.
He's looking after right